Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important news from the sports card hobby. We'll have some debates, opinions, new release schedules, and info. Plus, we'll also discuss the sports that so directly affect the hobby we all love. We'll mix in an occasional gambling tip or two, throw in some life stuff, and bring you great guest interviews from the hobby and sports dignitaries. And if you're good listeners, we may even give away a few things now and then. Now, here's the guy who wanted the cards and not the gum, John Newman.
All right, welcome. Episode 19 of the Sports Card Nation podcast. Another week, busy week, great show. I know I always say that, but I really believe it. So we're going to talk about Inception's out, Gypsy Queen's out. It's baseball season, baby. Opening day, fully underway here. All that prospecting, you want to see if it's going to pay off this year on your Fernando Tatises and Vlad Juniors and Eloy and whoever else. Now, this is what we get excited for. And even if you're just a baseball fan, this is Christmas for you. Great guest today on the show, our youngest one ever. He clocks in at 11 years old, but don't let the age fool you, okay? His name is Brody the Kid. He's wise beyond his years, as I've said on the promos. This is a kid who's doing video blogging, a media blog on Big League Breaks. He's doing video blogs from the National as he walks around. He's doing power rankings on his Twitter page. He's just a real ambassador for the hobby. He's tops of the class kid, and just a real intelligent young man. At 11 years old, he's doing things that some adults would probably be envious about. And he's got a bright future in his hobby. And I wanted to highlight him, spotlight him. Some of you may already know about him. Others may be hearing about him for the first time, but I think he's going to be someone you hear about more and more as time goes on, as he gets older and refines his craft. But this kid is an inspiration. Check his stuff out. Listen to the interview. I've interviewed quite a few guests now on this program. I enjoy every interview sincerely. But something with interviewing Brody really, I don't know how to explain it. It just hits you in the feels. It's great to see a young kid so passionate about this hobby. I don't think we have enough of that. I guess that's really what I take from it, and it's refreshing to see. So he'll be joining us today, and it's great. And I think we're going to have him on periodically. I think we need to touch base with that age group of what's going on in the hobby. They're the future. We can't shut them out. We can't forget about them, and they're all of the utmost importance. And we'll talk about that during my interview as well. So buckle up. Here we go. We love hearing from our listeners. Without you, there is no us. We encourage your thoughts and feedback, and we do care about what you think. We encourage you to reach out to us at any of our social media accounts, and they are as follows. You can get a hold of us on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast. That's all one word, Sports Card Nation Podcast. Or our Twitter, which is at Sports Card Natty 1, Sports Card NATI 1. Or if you go to Facebook, you can search Sports Card Nation Podcast. That's 4 words, and you'll find us. Or you can email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. Also, please give us a follow. We really do appreciate that. Thank you. All right, it's time for What's Crackin'. All right, let's go over the hobby release schedule. The following products all release on March 29th. 2019 Panini Prism Draft Picks Collegiate Football Hobby. Also, 2019 Onyx Vintage Collection Baseball Hobby. And 2019 Gold Rush Basketball Vault Box. On April 3rd, we have the 2018 Panini Flawless Football. I'm sure that will be a huge hit following National Treasures. Okay. 2019 Top Stranger Things 2. 2019 Super Break One-Time Vintage Football 20th Anniversary Edition Hobby. 2018-19 Upper Deck AHL Hobby, American Hockey League. 2018-19 Panini Court Kings Basketball. 2019 Gold Rush Trifecta Series 2 Football Autograph Memorabilia Box. On the 4th, the 2019 Super Break The Bar Pieces of the Past One-Time Sports Edition Box. And on the 5th, 2017-18 Leaf Pearl Hockey Hobby. So got some things coming out, all sports, non-sports, pretty busy. This is kind of the point of the year where things really sort of pick up and intensify, and you as a consumer have choices to make. What are you going to buy? What are you going to open? What are you going to buy? What breaks you're going to buy into? Want to speak American Alliance football product is out. I haven't seen any packs. I just saw blaster boxes. I'm going to be honest with you. Really didn't have any itch to buy any, and I didn't buy any. So I would buy a few packs if I do see some single packs. I would definitely buy a few packs just to see what they look like and what they entail. I think early returns, not officially, I think are not good. I know in the few Targets and Walmarts that I went to since the release, seemed like they had a lot of boxes on the shelf. I didn't see a lot what I would appear to be missing or purchased. So it's kind of what I thought might happen. You know, it's one thing to enjoy watching a product, being the AAF on TV as a football sport, but that doesn't always translate to the cards portion of the hobby. I think Topps took a calculated risk paying for the rights to this, and I just wonder if this might be a losing venture for them. I don't know what they paid to get the licensing to print these cards, but I don't think they're going to sell a ton. I could be wrong. This is a recent release, so maybe it's going to build up to some steam, but right now, you know, when you got products like National Treasures and Flawless, now I know one's a low-end product and those are high-end products, and you can't really throw them into the same grouping, but at the same time, there's only so much money that people are spending on wax and in breaks, so I just don't think the AAF product is at the forefront of that. Timing's probably not great with these new football releases coming out, but we'll see. Maybe when the smoke settles, I'll be more wrong than right. But right now, I think I'm more right than wrong. Topps Inception is out. I did personally buy a case. I've sold a good portion of those boxes, either as personal breaks or just sold the boxes outright and shipped them. I did open a couple boxes. My big pull out of the two boxes I opened, which was a nice one, I'll have to post it on our social medias. I haven't done that. Is a Reese Hoskins red patch auto. Really nice. Looks like the retro uniform, numbered to 25, and it's numbered 17 of 25. So it's the actual jersey number. For those of you who believe that holds a premium, that's a pretty good hit. My other box that I opened wasn't as fruitful, and in opening the few for myself, seeing some breaks on YouTube, and the other boxes I opened for personals, you know, I love the look of the cards this year. I love the lighter pastel colors. They really pop to me. I like it better than the darker releases of Inception. It's heavy rookie class, which is good and bad. I mean, you always like rookies that can potentially drive the product. Although I think this year rookies class is going to pale a little bit in comparison to last year's, but you never know. And there's a lot of boxes I've seen opening or have opening where, after you open them all, they're nothing to write home about. So I think there's a lot of blanks, if you will, a lot of, not great boxes. I can't complain with the Hoskins, but I think that was more the exception than the rule. And, just as well as I do, when you open any product, that's the chance you take. You can't guarantee that you're always going to have a big hit and a huge, popular card. That's, if that was the case, it would drive the values down. But I've seen a good percentage of these boxes yield disappointing results. So I'm a little fearful of that. I think long term, I do have some of the stuff left, but in all fairness, I have to be honest, that's what the show's about. I think this is a product that's going to come down in price based on what's coming out of these boxes. I do love the colors and the numbered cards, but I think, some of the big hits seem few and far between, and I don't know if it's going to be enough to keep the product thriving for this year. So I do see the wax prices kind of coming down, leveling off. I got, like I said, full disclosure, I have a few more boxes I'm moving, but just because I have it and selling it, I'm not going to be dishonest about my opinion of the product. So I do like the product. The design is beautiful. I think it may be the best designed Inception yet. Obviously it's that thick, 130, 120 point cardstock. It's great. They're great grading candidates when you pull something really sharp. But I've seen a lot of this open, and you can go on stretches where you'll have trouble on some of these boxes really yielding your price back that you paid for the product. I think it's a great product to buy in a break. I think there's 4 patch autos per case out of 16, so 1 in 4 boxes. So you buy into a break, get your team or teams, and you hope you run into something and catch something that way. I think that's where the product is excelling, will excel, but individual buying the whole boxes, I think it may be a risky proposition. So Gypsy Queen is out. I have not opened any yet myself, but I will be. But just from seeing it being open and some videos of that, seems to be bright, a little more bright and colorful. I think the photography, from what I've seen open, it seems a little more action shots than I've traditionally seen. 2 on-card autos per box. The boxes itself, 24 packs, 8 cards per pack. Tarot the Diamonds are back. Some of the colored cards are back, and like I said on the previous show, they've replaced the box toppers with a 3-card chromium pack, and even those can be numbered as well. And I saw those chromium cards. I gotta say, those are really sharp looking. And the first time I saw them, I thought to myself, man, that would be a great set on its own. So, Tops, if you're listening, those Gypsy Queen chromium cards, take off that GQ logo and make a set that looks like that with chromium. I'd be all in on that one. So, again, 2 on-card autos. There are patch autos and other numbered and colored cards. I like the Gypsy Queen. You got all the traditional parallels, missing nameplate and bazooka backs and that sort of thing. So it's kind of becoming, no, it's not kind of, it's already there. It's the flagship product, the Gypsy Queen line. So I will be opening it. I just haven't opened none of it yet. So just on the eye test, I like it. National Treasures football is out. Baker Mayfield stuff is going through the roof. I do like Baker. I think he's going to be a viable and solid quarterback in this league. But what his stuff is bringing, $6,500 for a patch auto, I mean, this is, Tom Brady kind of area. And it always amazes me, that stuff goes for that, because I always say if I'm going to spend that kind of money on a card, there's probably other ones I'd buy first. A Tom Brady, even a Drew Brees, guys that have kind of accomplished more. And I think Baker Mayfield's a solid, probably very good, maybe potentially great quarterback. But there's no guarantee he's going to get rings and the accomplishments some of these other guys have done. And when the stuff goes for that much, I would be the type of guy that I'd be a seller definitely at that price. But Baker's going through the ceiling. Flawless will be coming out this week, so that'll be interesting to see what comes out of there and what some of those individual cards bring. Obviously, Baker's are going to be the hot commodity as well. And Baker's so hot, he's kind of overshadowed Saquon. Saquon's kind of calmed down in the market, but to me, I think Barkley is it's hard to compare a running back to a quarterback, but I'm still a Saquon Barkley guy. I think the Giants can fix some ills. He's going to put up his regardless, but if they can fix some ills, they could potentially get back to winning ways. And I think that's, if anything hurts Saquon, it's not the performance, it's just the record of the team he's on. And I'm not a Giants fan per se, but as someone involved in the hobby who does have quite a bit of Saquon's kind of stacked away, you like to see him win some more games, so some of that stuff maybe gets a residual effect from that. So we'll see how that goes. Flawless coming out. I'm sure there'll be some record-breaking prices on some of that stuff as well. We'll see. All right, real excited for our next guest on the Sports Card Nation podcast. He's going to take the title right now of the youngest guest we've ever had. But make no mistake about it, this young man is wise beyond his years, as I said on social media. I noticed him tweeting and doing some video blogging, and I just was shocked when I learned how old he was. And he's going to put me out of a job at this rate. And I'm really excited to have him on the show. His name is Brody the Kid. He's from the Chicago area. And welcome to the show, Brody.
Hi, guys.
Man, I 11 years old, man, and you're video blogging, you're at the National, telling everyone about that. You're doing power rankings on Twitter. Correct me, you got a blog called Rip with Brody. You were the tops of the class kid. Am I correct there too?
Yep.
I mean, you're like the envy of probably a lot of kids your age. I mean, what do you attribute where do you get your inspiration from? Where do you get this work ethic at 11 years old?
I just keep practicing. Practice makes perfect.
So, usually, Brody, when I have a guest on this segment of the show, they're usually older, not a big deal. And then I ask them kind of how they got into cards, how they got into the hobby. And, usually they'd say, well, I was about 9, 10, 11. Here you are at 11. I'm gonna throw it to you, the same question. How did you get into cards? How recent are you to the hobby? And how did it all kind of start for you?
I'd say I probably got into collecting about 2 years ago, when my mom on my birthday brought me to a local hobby card shop, and I basically just fell in love with cards from that point on.
Yep, so a couple years, I'm assuming, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you like all the Chicago teams or not necessarily?
The only one I really don't like is the Cubs.
No, why is that?
I just don't like them. I'm a Sox fan, and I will always be a Sox fan.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's cool. No one can accuse you of being a bandwagon jumper, being at the Cubs, won a World Series, and that no one will accuse you. Oh, you like the Cubs because they won. You're like you said, you're a Sox fan, true and true. So I respect that. 11 years old. What you're doing video blogs, you're doing, power. What kind of made you decide, to do that at 11 years old?
I think I just wanted to get kids into collecting more because it just seems like it's all adults now, and kids can really make it fun.
I agree with you, Brody. We need more kids in this hobby. I've said this on the show numerous times. It's really something. It's not lip service from me. It's something I really believe in. I got started at 7 years old in 1979. I'm an old fart, as you probably gathered. But we're all kids at some point. It's got to start at some point. Like even for me, even at 7. And I've talked about this on the show. I sometimes think we don't have enough, kids in the hobby. And you guys, let's be real, are the next generation. We're going to hand off the baton to you guys, and you're going to run with it, hopefully. You guys are the future of this hobby. And if there's not enough of you guys collecting or in the hobby and doing things in the hobby, that's where I worry about the future, where the hobby's going. As an 11-year-old, obviously you go to school, you have friends in school, out of school. What percentage of your friends would you say are into sports cards like you, or similar to you?
I'd say only about 1% or 2. I don't have very many friends that collect.
Yep. I kind of know what I think you might answer, how you might answer this question, but I got to ask you, what do you think the main reason that is?
I think it's just kids are too worried about video games. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, I think, and you can tell me your thoughts too, Brody. I think this as well as I do. Some of these products are not cheap. They're quite expensive. I think,
yeah.
We some of the companies, maybe not so intentionally, but, kids are kind of priced out of hobby. Some of these boxes, go for upwards of over $100 a piece, and when I was your age and even younger, I mean, a box was at the most, a lot of times $20-$30, and now it's a whole different thing, and that's where my fear is that that next generation, you guys aren't going to be able to be in the hobby and keep this thing going. I'm sure it's not going to be doomsday, and there always will be baseball cards and sports cards. Do you have any ideas? Like, if you were the CEO of a card company, what would you do differently from an 11-year-old perspective?
I would say just try to keep making kid-friendlier products like Opening Day and Big League. Like, those are probably my products that I would think that are easiest to get kids in collecting because they're both $1 a pack.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I'll piggyback off what you said, Brody. I think you're spot on. We need those products geared at the kids. But what I also like to see is put more of the game use, some autos in those products too. Because I don't care how old I don't care how old you are. That adrenaline from opening the pack and knowing you got a hit, whether it's an auto or a game use card or both. That's what gets kids hooked or really make them want to stay involved, and sometimes I think those type of cards are just too much in the high end only, and those that younger set that is buying the Big League and Opening Day is not pulling enough of those to keep their interest in it, So I agree with you, and I think they need to put more stuff in those products and keep it at that price level where it's affordable too.
Yeah, and I think the mascot cards help with the kids too, because kids gotta love mascots.
You're right, and adults are just big kids, so I'm not gonna lie, I get a kick out of the mascot cards as well.
Yeah.
So, you went to the national. What was it, last year?
Yeah.
Was that your first one?
That was my second. I went the year before too.
Yep. So speaking of both of them, I mean, was it more than you thought it was? Is it kind of what you expected? What were your thoughts on attending your first 2 nationals?
It's big. It's really big.
Yep. Now, how many days were you there? Were you there for a few days?
Last year I was there the whole time.
Yeah.
I was barely even there Sunday, but And then the year before that, I was only there a day.
Yep. Now, any advice to not only just kids your age, but even adults that are attending the National, being that you've been to 2 now, anything you can share with the listeners and collectors, maybe that's never been, to what to kind of expect, maybe some tips how to get through it, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, just honestly, don't spend your money at the first table you see, because there's like 200 tables or whatever. And there's so many cool stuff there, and you might find something you want everywhere.
Yep, and that's great advice, really, for any show. Brody, I always tell, even before I was in the setting up, I set up at shows now myself, but even before that, when I was just buying at shows, I'd always walk around and kind of check every table out first, and then kind of devise a game plan. I'm going to go get this card off that table and do some of that stuff.
Yeah. That's what I usually do too.
Yep. No, that's just smart. So I got to ask you a question. I ran a poll a few weeks back, and I asked collectors, when you're at a show and you're looking at showcases and cards in the cases, would you rather the cards be priced so you don't have to ask, or you rather them be unpriced where you can kind of say, hey, how much is that, or how much is that? Which one do you prefer as a consumer?
Probably unpriced, and you just ask.
Yeah, and I'm surprised you say that. I thought you might say the otherwise, but I think you're not a shy kid, so you probably don't have an issue just saying, hey, how much is, that Frank Thomas, or how much is that Eloy, you know what I mean? So, but there are some people that I think are. So I think the final poll results were like 60% liked them priced, and 40% it didn't matter to them. So I guess it depends on the person's personality. You're an outgoing young man, so yeah, you probably don't have a problem saying to a dealer, "Hey, how much is that?" I'm wondering. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like to talk to the owners. They usually seem pretty nice.
Yeah, well, man, I tell you what, 11 years old, you're doing big things. Are you getting to the point you're getting recognized, kind of as you go walk around these shows, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes.
How about in school? Do like classmates or teachers kind of see what you're doing outside of school?
Yeah, my teacher does.
What do they think?
They realize that I write a blog and stuff like that, and they seem pretty impressed.
Yeah, well, it is impressive, young man. You should be very proud. I'm sure your parents are as well. It sounds funny. I've never asked this to anyone on the show yet, and I'm looking forward to it. What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be in the media? Do you want to be a dealer? I mean, have you even decided yet? You got time. You could say, hey, man, I don't know yet. I'm 11 years old.
I mean, I kind of wanted to be an athlete. That's kind of what I've always wanted to be. But then, yeah, I mean, there's always media stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah, are you a baseball player?
Yeah, baseball and basketball.
Yeah. Which are you better at?
Excuse me?
I said, which one's your better sport, would you say?
Better sport?
Yeah. Which one are you a better baseball player or basketball player?
Probably basketball player, but I'm still really good at baseball.
Yeah. So is it something you'd like to play on the college level, and then maybe see where that takes you and go on from there?
Yeah, I would play either sport. I mean, I might even like baseball better.
Well, man, that's awesome. How about media? Do you want to kind of get into like maybe if you don't turn out to be a Major League Baseball player, an NBA player, which hopefully you do, if that's what you want to do, would you want to be in those fields even in other capacities, maybe broadcasting games or working for teams?
Yeah, I would like to do that. I'd also like to own a card shop. That would probably be really fun.
Yeah, well, I was one of those for 4 years. If you listen to last week's show, I kind of spoke on that. It's not easy, but you're a smart kid at 11. When you're 18, 19, 20, even older, I'm assuming you're going to be a lot smarter. It's something you can do, and I would encourage any kid, not just you, Brody. Follow your dreams, whatever your passions are. go do that stuff. And I think that's one thing I love about what you're doing. That you're really a great example of that, doing, what you enjoy, and even watching your videos and your blog, you come through, you can see you're genuine, you really enjoy doing it. And it's really refreshing. Again, I know I'm heaping a lot of praise on you, but it's really true. 11 years old and you're doing all that stuff, man. That's tremendous.
Thank you.
So what, I don't want you to give all your secrets. Do you have anything like future things you want to do? Like now, I'm not talking about, when you grow up, but anything on the horizon, on the close horizon that you're planning to do?
I kind of want to meet Gary Vee.
Yeah, I'm a Gary Vee guy. I saw that your recent post with him. How, at 11, how'd you kind of discover Gary Vee?
Once my dad kind of figured out that he started a censored channel.
Yeah.
And he does have a little bit of a potty mouth.
Yeah.
So he started showing it to me, and then I started really liking it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't want to sound like I'm a shill for Gary Vee, but I'm a big Gary Vee guy. He's very popular. A lot of people like him. He's sort of a no-nonsense, gives some great advice, So I think listening at 11 years old, and he says the same things. I get a lot of inspiration from him as well. And he would tell you, I don't want to speak for him, but you know this as well as I do. If you ever talk to him, he'd tell you, hey, Brody, do what you love, man. Follow your dreams, follow your passions. Don't let anybody tell you can't or you won't. Prove them wrong. Yeah. And you're doing that. So, he did a recent thing where he said he was going to get back into the cards in a big sort of way. He didn't really elaborate on what he meant, and I kind of talked about this too on a prior episode. There was a little bit of a rumor, I don't know if you heard it yourself, that he was interested in buying Topps. Because Topps is rumored here and there you hear that it's for sale. So imagine if Gary Vee bought Topps.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, that would be crazy. How about that? Is that something maybe in the future you want to be like a card company executive and make some of the decision making of what is going to be in products and what products would be released and maybe even the design?
Yeah, maybe. That would be a lot of fun to be like the owner of Topps.
Yeah, well, you never know, man. You really don't. Now, let me ask you, while we're talking about products and card companies, do you have a particular product you're really a big fan of, or do you like most of them in general? Or is there one that really you look forward to every year?
I always look forward to Allen and Ginter. I love that, especially because it has like all that like non-sport stuff too.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I'm also always interested in Inception.
Yep. This year's Inception, I opened a couple packs. I did sell some. I did some personal breaks with them. I really like the look of them. It's really rookie heavy, which is good and bad, sort of both. There's been a couple boxes that kind of been, a little disappointing. Yeah. But there's been some bigger hits too. So it's like any pack. You that's the chance you take. You never know what you're going to pull out. So, man, listen, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm going to have you on again, man. You're really an inspiration. I hope a lot of other kids, I know adults are taking notice of you for sure. But I hope some of the kids your age too take some notice. You can kind of be an inspiration. Hey, kids, do things you want, even if it's not baseball cards or sports cards, whatever they happen to be into. You can do different things. You can do blogs and videos and that sort of thing. Are you going to be one? Are you going to go to like every national? Is that going to be like a tradition for you?
Yeah, I'll probably go to nationals a lot.
Yeah. Well, man, Brody, thanks for coming on the Sports Card Nation podcast, man. I appreciate it. You're doing big things. Anyone listening out there, this kid's 11 years old, Look him up, Brody the Kid. Brody, I'm actually going to give you the floor here to give out your Twitter handle or any social medias where people can find you, and anything you want to promote. You got the stage right now.
Okay, so first, before I say my Twitter account, I kind of want to talk about Tops of the Class. I also love that for kids.
Yep.
Kids just get good grades and they get that binder and they can put all their cards in there. I think it's a really good way to get kids collecting too with that free binder. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and it's nice to see, Tops do that and keep the kids, involved and reward them for doing well in school. Sometimes I think, we tell kids do good in school, get good grades, and sometimes I don't think we always give them enough incentive, and Tops is kind of doing that with the Tops of the Class from a hobby standpoint, and it's good to see that, and it's good to see, you say that as an 11-year-old kid. Hey, kids, do well, you can get rewarded.
Yeah.
All right, so hey, again, give out any kind of anyone where someone can find you, what you're doing, anything you want to promote. Now's your chance.
Okay, so my Twitter is Brody the Kid 1. You can check me out on there.
All right, you're on
Instagram too.
Yep, you're on Instagram.
Brody the Kid 1, I think, again, or just Brody the Kid. It's one of the two.
That's all. So how did you come up with Brody the Kid? Is it just kind of a nickname? You just like the sound of it? I like it. Has a nice ring to it. Did you come up with it?
Not really. I mean, it sounds pretty cool. It kind of sounds like Billy the Kid. Not that I'm feeling anything for him, but it does kind of sound cool, like Billy the Kid, Brody the Kid.
So be honest. Did you coin this yourself, or did someone kind of anoint you Brody the Kid?
Well, Tops kind of made it Brody the Tops Kid, but they made like a contract that said like only they had the right to have it Brody the Tops Kid.
Yeah.
So we just made it Brody the Kid because it kind of had under the contract that we couldn't use the Tops Kid.
Always a loophole, Brody, and you found it. Awesome. Just take out the tops and you're good. No, but all joking aside, man, keep doing what you're doing. You got a bright future ahead of you. You're wise, like I said on my promo post. You're wise beyond the years. I'd love to have you on periodically. You can tell me, from your perspective, which is very important to me. Anyone that listens to the show knows that the kids of the hobby are very important to me and really a focal point of the show. So I'd love to have you on periodically. We'll talk the hobby. You can, tell me what you're thinking, what you're seeing from your eyes.
Okay, so one more thing I forgot to add. You can read my blog. My new one just came out or is coming out. I'm not sure if it's up there yet. It's called Rip with Brody the Kid. It's on bigleaguebreaks.net. Yep,
I read it, man. Like I said, you're all over the place. You're in print media, you're on video. Like I said, you're going to put a lot of people out of business, I think. So, you're doing that at 11. We better, get all the work we can in now, because you're going to be stealing. You're going to be stealing all the shine pretty soon. So again, man, if you want to come back, I'd love you to come back sometime. We can talk about what's going on in the hobby, what's going on in Brody the Kid's world, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, thanks for supporting me. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Thank you very much. All right, we'll talk to you again.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Brody. Keep doing big things.
Okay.
The show has grown, and we are very appreciative of that fact. If you are a business, a dealer, a breaker that would like to partner with us, please reach out to us at one of our social medias or email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. That's sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We have many affordable options to promote and highlight the services you provide. We look forward to hearing from you and collaborating with you in the future. It's time for From the Box Seat. All right, let's talk sports. Opening day has begun. A few surprises on who made rosters, sort of. Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to break camp with the Padres. And Pete Alonso is going to be starting for the Mets at first base. He won the job. So where others have sent those guys down to get a extra year of control, the Padres and the Mets said, "Nah, we're going to keep you with the ball club, and if you're as good as we think you are, we'll sign a new deal at some point." Anyway, Jacob deGrom got paid. And then he went out and threw a gem against the Washington Nationals today, winning 2-0. Ichiro retired and last week in Japan, and what a fitting way kind of to go out, going home again. And, you know, I knew he was a Hall of Famer, and until I really looked at his stats, I didn't realize how great his numbers were. And just he's a sure shot first ballot Hall of Famer. And I'm going to be honest with you, I knew he was very good. I just didn't realize how good he was. And so he's going to be going into the Hall in 5 years. Let's go on to football. Johnny Manziel's back in the States with the American Alliance of Football in Memphis. He got some playing time the other night, looked very good. So maybe there's still that door still slightly ajar for someone to take a flyer down the line here in the NFL for Johnny Manziel. I've always been a supporter as far as I think he's a very good quarterback. It's just if he can keep his head on straight. And that's the $1 million question. The problem is anyone willing to take a chance anymore? I don't know. That ship may have sailed. Jordan Howard is going to be wearing a new uniform. He was just traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 6th-round pick. That could be a 5th-round pick. Great trade for the Eagles. You give up nothing. You get a fairly productive back, although I think his productions kind of went down. He's got a little tread on the tires. Still young. He's still in his rookie contract, and I think what that trade became was the system that Matt Nagy runs in Chicago. They kind of feel they can plug any back there along with Tariq Cohen and get production. It's kind of a system backfield, and his rookie contract is expiring soon, and I don't think they really wanted to pay him a raise. So I think they go right back to the draft this year and grab another running back. But I will say this year's draft is the running back class is not great. One of the worst I've seen in a long time. So it'll be interesting to see who they wind up with, who they pull. But I think they believe with the system they run, they can just plug and play anyone in there and get production. So time will tell there. Basketball, Lakers will be golfing in the postseason for the first time, I believe, since 2005. You will not see a man named LeBron James in the postseason. Right now, that looks like an unmitigated disaster. You know, it's like I said before in the show, I wonder if the brass in Los Angeles are thinking they made a mistake in signing LeBron, not based on just 1 year, but he seems to have a lot of interest outside of basketball, very outspoken, kind of been throwing teammates sort of under the bus. It looks like there's division within the team on timeouts. Like we've talked before on the show, LeBron's kind of in one area and the majority of the teams in another. So I think there's problems there. I think they've tried to kind of keep it in-house. You know, LeBron's got that MO of being a coach killer, Now Luke Walton is on the hot seat and is rumored probably not to return or get his job back. So, this will be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But when you watch playoff games, you won't be seeing LeBron this year. Giannis and James Harden had a nice battle the other night, and a lot of people, before it said whoever gets the better of the matchup would be the leader in the clubhouse for 2019 NBA MVP. Giannis had the better game, but I don't think you can do that on one game. There are a lot of people that have better games than certain other people on any given night. I don't believe that one game makes a season and an award. So, not that Giannis isn't worthy of MVP. He is, but I don't think we base that on one game. This season's 82 games long. And to the college court, we all kind of saw it. If you didn't see it, you saw the highlights. Duke, I'll use the term escapes because that's exactly what they did. And, UCF couldn't get a couple shots to fall late. Questionable no call on Duke late in the game. I'm a Syracuse guy, so I don't have a lot of love for Duke, but full disclosure, I picked them to win on my bracket. I have 12 of the 16 teams that are left accurate. One side of my bracket's actually almost perfect. Duke's a very good team. It does seem they sometimes get some calls. Some of that maybe because a lot of people's disdain, we kind of look at it that way. But, we could point to a no call or this call. But at the end of the day, UCF had chances and just couldn't get them to fall. And that's how basketball is. It's can be decided by something that rolls around the rim and out. And Duke survives a scare. And a lot of people are saying, well, this is a chink in the armor. They're not as good as everyone thinks they are. They're not going to win this thing. Someone's going to get them. And that may be true, but I don't subscribe to that theory because of the UCF game. If anything, I'll take the other side of that coin. I think the UCF game might be a great thing for them because it really showed them, like, if we don't really come to play, we could be going home. It might be just the scare they need to turn on the Jets and really start playing some good basketball. So I'm still going to call them the favorite. I still expect them to be cutting down the nets, but we'll see. That was too close to handle, I'm sure they would say. So maybe, that I guess that could go, there's two trains of thought there. What I said about that being a wake-up call, now they'll be focused, or what certain other people say is that just shows you they're not as dominating as their record may indicate, and somebody's going to catch them here on a not-so-great night and eliminate them. So that's the beauty of this tournament in general, is those potential upsets. Last year we saw Virginia in the one spot go down. Nothing like that yet this year, and really isn't going to be that way now because the 16 teams that are left are all pretty high seeds. No real big Cinderellas, if you will, like your Butlers and those kind of guys. George Mason, VCUs. Truthfully, any of these 16 teams potentially could win this thing. Although, like I said, I still think Duke is the favorite. I have Duke, North Carolina in my final. Yeah, I know it's kind of chalk, but I do pretty well on these bracket challenges. Every year it seems like every 2 out of 3 years I wind up winning one. So right now this one's in good shape. But had UCF won that game, I would have been done because I do have Duke winning the whole thing. It's kind of bittersweet because I really don't want Duke to win because I'm not a Duke fan, but I also make the picks with my head, and my head tells me they're a loaded team that can beat most people on most nights, and that's kind of where I made my pick. So Well, we'll see what happens from the UCF game, how they respond to it. My Final Four, while we're talking about it, is Duke, Michigan, Virginia, and North Carolina. The team that really scared me when I made that pick was Virginia based on last year, but they look like they've kind of put that behind them. They're playing well. North Carolina looks a little shaky, but still good. And Michigan's sort of even though they're a number 2 seed, most people probably didn't take them to make the Final Four. I did. I got them beating Texas Tech here. That will be a good game. So we'll see how it all shakes out. I'm gonna stick with my Duke pick. Not that I could change it anyway. It's already written down in pen and turned in. But we'll see how this thing goes. This is where things get really interesting because at this point, realistically, anybody can beat anybody. All right, time to give away the Trout Diamond King Beckett graded 9 2017. Not a bad card. Mike Trout, anything Mike Trout is decent. So it's a Mike Trout 2017 Diamond King Beckett graded 9. We had almost 76 entrants. I randomized that list 9 times as the dice told me to, and when all was said and done, the name on the top of that list is Jag Fan Forever, and he entered on our Instagram private message. So Jag Fan Forever, if you're hearing your name, get a hold of us, whatever way, the same way you did your entry or whatever way, and we'll get your address and we'll get you that Mike Trout on its way headed to you. You have a week, so 7 days, the clock starts ticking. So get a hold of us ASAP. We'll get you your Trout. Congratulations. Lasting 25 years in any industry is impressive. Lasting 25 as a sports card store is rarely seen. But Newman Sports Cards has been doing just that since 1992. Providing excellent customer service and a great selection of rookies, autos, game used, and graded cards. Recently, they added wax products and supplies to their arsenal. To find them, just Google search Newman Sports Cards or follow them on Instagram at Newman Sports Cards. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast. As always, we thank you for joining us. It's a show we'll never ask for a handout. We'll never ask for donations. All we'd ever ask is if you enjoy the show, give us a positive review on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Retweet our social medias. Plug our show if you like it. Tell a friend. Tell 2 friends. There's nothing more than that could please us more. Word of mouth is the best advertising you could have. So once again, thank you. We got some autograph guests future lined up, some good ones. So stay with us. I hope you enjoyed Brody today. 11-year-old boy doing what he's doing is just something else. So if that's where the hobby's going, and if that's the next generation in the hobby, I'm excited for it, to pass the baton to that next crew coming up. So, as always, remember, the hobby is the people, and I'll close with one of my favorite lines. One of my favorite music artists, Billy Joel, always says, "I'll clean it up," but he basically says, "Don't take any crap from anyone." Thank you, folks. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. Join host John Newman next week as he gives you another jam-packed episode of all things related to the sports card hobby. And a little extra fun, too. Don't forget to check out the show on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast.